Hello and welcome back. I cannot believe that the first month of 2025 is already over. Like, it's going by so fast. I feel like I blinked and everything was done already. But I feel like January usually goes like that, and then it's like the March, May, or I know months. Then it's the February, March, and April that kind of like slogs in the year leading up to like spring and summertime, you know? But usually February to April is like the time where I do okay with reading, but it's definitely one of my like slumpy periods. So I'm hoping that's not the case this year then. I figured today we would do the TBR draw to see what a monthly challenge is and what books that I have to read, and then I'll also be talking about the books that I'm going to be reading regardless of what I pick from the jar too, because I'm in a few book clubs and there are books that I just want to read for personal enjoyment as well. Before we start with the jar prompts and everything, I kind of want to go over the 3 books that I'm reading for myself first, because that'll be the easiest portion of this video. First and foremost, for my college girls book club, where we either read like fantasy or romance or romantasy books, whatever we're feeling, I'll read anything. We are going to read Book Lovers by Emily Henry this time around, because most of them have now read this book, which I've read every Emily Henry book, so this would be a reread for me. But this is the one book from Emily Henry that I've really wanted to reread, because on paper it's something that I should love, but when I first read it about 2 years ago, I gave it a 3 stars. I just thought it was okay. I didn't feel the chemistry. I'm hoping now that I'm kind of like removed from college, where I had to read it in chunks, that I can really like dive into this one and enjoy it a lot more. This book follows our 2 main characters, Nora and Charlie. Nora is kind of like that badass New York City literary agent girl who's very focused on her career, and Charlie is also in the literary sphere. I believe he's like an editor of some kind, and they have like this tension-filled relationship with one another because of reasons that I kind of forget, reasons that are lost to time. But the whole story follows Libby Libby is Nora's sister. So it follows those 2 sisters as they go to stay in this like small town on the coast and to have like a little sister time, but Charlie ends up in that town. Really cute story. It's supposed to be kind of like a take on like Hallmark movies, where the big city girl gets dumped so that the main guy can live in the small town with like the florist or baker or whatever. But I kind of love this spin because Nora is not your typical protagonist, and I'm excited to revisit this. I think it'll be good. I have to see where it lands on my Emily Henry ranking after I finish it. The next book that I'm going to read is on my Kindle, and funny enough, my Kindle is actually so old that they don't make cases for it anymore, so I just have a pop socket on it. It doesn't have the cute stickers because I know I'm eventually going to get a new one, but I've literally had this since I was like 13, and it still works, and it's great. So I'm reading the ebook for The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, because I finished Mistborn last year, so this is book 2. Mistborn is following our main character Vin, and she is a Mistborn, which in this world the magic system is like allomancy, which you ingest different metals to give you different powers, and a Mistborn can wield them all. So we're following Vin and the group of people that she was forming a rebellion with as they navigate like what happens next in this kingdom after the events of the first book. So I'm really excited to dive into this. It is a bit of a chunky book, so I'm hoping I can kind of consume it in like those bite-sized pieces, and it does not take me as long to read as Mistborn did, which was egregiously long. So I'm hoping that I can dive into this one and enjoy it a bit more, since I've grown very fond of these characters. The last book that I for sure want to read, and I'm already like 70 pages into it, is Welcome to the Human Long Bookshop, and I have a really cute bookmark in this book. That's a cat that I got for Christmas that says "You paused here." It's so stupid, I love it. But this was actually a Korean translated book that was a 2024 nominee in the literary fiction section, but it's a translated novel talking about this woman who dreams of opening a bookstore, and she actually does, and a lot of the themes in this story are centering around like meaning of life, finding happiness, dealing with like the impending sadness that we all kind of have about searching for our purpose, and the power of bookstores and building community through your own means. I have just started this book, but I already really love it. It's kind of the perfect read for me right now in life because I'm trying to figure out what I really want to do. I'm navigating what it's like to be in the corporate world, and I'm not sure if it's really for me, so I'm kind of like, what's next? What's out there? And I'm hoping that this book can at least bring me some comfort in these trying times, you know, in my personal life and in the United States as a whole. But this is described as like Korean healing fiction, and I kind of need some of that right now. So I'm very excited to get into this a bit more. Move into the different jars that I have. If you're new here, don't worry, I'll explain what we're doing because it's a little chaotic. But my main goal this year was to have 75% of my physical TBR shelf read because I've had books forever and I want my shelves to be representative of the things that I like to read. So I'm doing some self-searching, some reading, some figuring out what I want, but that's what this jar is. And then to keep myself accountable, I made a jar of little challenge prompts that kind of guide the reading year. Some of them are a bit much, like last month I pulled the read or start and finish a brand new series in 1 month, which you'll see how that went in my January wrap-up that I need to film still. But it can be something so simple, or it can be something that's really going to determine how I read for the month. So we usually draw a challenge prompt first, and then we draw 3 from this jar to see what books I need to read. So let's start with the challenge prompt. I love hearing that sound. And these are not like color coded in any specific way. I genuinely forget like half the prompts I put in here, so we'll see what we get. Oh, okay, this is perfect, actually. Entire monthly TBR based on backlist books. I love how I just went over the books that I'm going to read regardless, and none of those are on my backlist. But we'll say other than those 3, every book I have to read has to be a backlist book. Like, okay, so in this sense, we'll say backlist is over a year. Like you've been meaning to read it for like over a year and just haven't done it, I guess. So we'll go with that. But I think that kind of works. That just means that I'll probably have to suspend some of my Libby holds or push those back, but that's okay. We're kind of focusing on bringing down the TBR a little bit, and a lot of the books that I wanted to read this winter anyway have been on my TBR for a really long time. So I think that works. That'll be a good motivational tool for me. Alright, well, this works because this is the backlist jar anyway. So we're going to pull 3 books. I'm going to see what we get here. I always feel so awkward. I'm like, do I look at the camera? Do I look away as I'm pulling these items out? Okay, we got our first one. I think one fell out, so we're going to put that back in. Alright, let's see what we got. Ah, we got the Thursday Murder Club! Yes! Instead of reading romances, I'm going to be reading about murder. Oh, I got this book at a used bookstore too for like $6, so I got so excited. But the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, or Osman? Osman. Alice Osman. Richard Osman. My bad. But this series is like I don't know if it's necessarily cozy mystery, but that's what I've heard it pitched as. But we're following this group of like older people in like a retirement home who love to sit down and talk like true crime and try to solve murders that have happened in their community. So I've heard that the writing in this is absolutely hilarious. It's like older people, so like the voice is like a bit more cynical, even though Richard Osman is not older. But it's a whole series too. So there are like 4 books in the series. I've heard it's filled with a lot of love and wholesomeness, even though it's about murder and whatnot. But I'm so excited to read this. I was not expecting to get that, but also I never know what to expect with the jar. So this will be good. And I love that I'm getting a bunch of like physical books to read too. This will be good, especially for like a shorter month. Picking up stuff that's not chunky fantasy works for me. Book. Let's see what we got here. Oh, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have had this book on my TBR for so long, so that is a perfect backlist book. I love how I'm picking all of the books that are right here within reach. I promise it was not planned. But I also got this book for $6 at my local used bookstore. But this has literally been on my TBR since A Clockwork Reader started talking about it in like the early 2010s. So like young Tori has wanted to read this forever. So this is the perfect thing to kind of, you know, add to the TBR this month. It's a little bit on the heftier side, but that's okay. I've heard that this book is like a magical realism type book, or it's got like light fantastical elements, but it's about this circus that appears in like the middle of the night, and people like, you know, go to it, enjoy it, but then it disappears the next day. And I think we're following two magicians, which are on the cover here, and they're fighting for like a spot in the circus. I know it's kind of like a rival situation. I think there's a little bit of romance, but I have not read an Erin Morgenstern book, but I also want to read this and like The Starless Sea. And I think that I'm very excited to actually pick this up. Oh, and also the fact that they match each other. Like, we're going with the red for February. It's great. Time for the last book. Let's see what we're gonna get. I hope nothing too big because February is the shortest month and I forget that. Okay, what do we got? Oh shit. Okay. We got Babel by R.F. Kuang. I have to go up for this one. Okay, this is actually perfect too though, because this has been on my TBR since it first published, like over 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. Oh my god, I swear. Okay, but I love R.F. Kuang's writing. Like, The Poppy War is one of my favorite books that I read last year, and the year prior to that, I loved Yellowface a lot. She's just like a chameleon in the writing world. Whatever you need her to be, she can do it, she can write it. R.F. Kuang is incredible, and I can't wait for her next book, but I know that so many people love Babel because it's like a little bit of dark academia with fantasy. I know there's a lot of themes about colonialism and language in here, and I am such a word nerd, so this sounds like it would be right up my alley. But I think we're following our main character. I believe his name is Robin, and he goes to this university that's kind of set up by his colonizers, if I'm remembering correctly, and he's supposed to learn about the different types of like language there, and like the magic is connected to metals somehow, I think. So that's kind of ironic that I'm reading Mistborn, which is also metal-based magic. Okay, yes, he's studying at Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, which is Babel. Okay. Yeah, it's silver working magic and manifesting the meaning lost in translation. Ooh, okay. This is going to be so interesting because I love things that are a little pretentious, and I feel like R.F. Kuang balances that pretentious writing perfectly. Here's the baseline monthly TBR, which love that these all match. Like, that is insane. You cannot come up with that again. But we have The Night Circus, we have the Thursday Murder Club, and Babel. So those three. Then we have Welcome to the Human Dong Bookshop, Well of Ascension on my Kindle, and Book Lovers, which would probably be a good palate cleanser between the fantasies and the murder that I have going on. So yeah, this is the tentative TBR, so we'll see what else I add to the mix, but I'm pretty happy with this. Like, there's not a single book that I'm dreading to read by any means. Ooh. Yeah, there's not a book I'm dreading to read, so this will be fun. But thank you for spending some time with me in this video. If you have a free moment, I would love it if you subscribed or even just leave me a comment. I love talking with people about books. Which book would you read on the stack? And also, I just updated the banner on my channel page, so I have a Gmail contact which is pagesandpastimes@gmail.com if you want to chat about books there. I have a Webtoons comic called Tales of Grandeur, which I'm starting to get back into writing a bit more. And then I also have a Goodreads page, which is linked there as well, and my Instagram is Pages and Pastimes too. So if you want to follow me on any of those resources as well, feel free to. But thank you again for joining me for this video. Make sure you check my January wrap-up, which should be coming out sometime soon to this video, but it's gonna be a doozy. I'm excited for that one. But thank you so much. I hope your February is off to a good start. Bye!